roll. Jackie Cooper,
Here.
Richard Davila,
Here.
Dr. Fowler, Gary Hahn,
Here.
TJ McDowell, Jesse Rangel,
Here.
Deidre Stewart, Amy Truss,
Here.
and myself, Ben Norris. Okay, certify that we have a quorum. Okay, now we have the approval of the minutes for meeting of March 21st, 2018.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Do I hear a second?
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Okay, we'll go to item D, public comment. No one signed up for public comment. All right, we'll go to item E, staff reports, starting with license division.
Good morning, advisory board members. My name is Leonard Rivas. I'm with the licensing division. I handed out an updated report with updated current numbers. From our last meeting in March, I'm able to provide you with the second quarter numbers and also with the most current numbers for March and April. For the hearing fitters instruments, we issued 12 new licenses. The current population for that is 668. The apprentice permit for March and April, we issued 10 new licenses, and the current population for that is 41. And then for the temporary training permit, March through April, we issued 16 new temporary training permit, and the total population for that remains the same as the second quarter, which is 110. We did have our second licensing work group. When that comes on the agenda, Mr. Davila will give us an update on our licensing work group. That concludes my report. Do you have any questions? No?
No, thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Okay, now we'll hear from customer service division.
Good morning, Good morning, advisory board members. My name is Tuan. I am the customer service manager for this program. As you see from our stats since last time we met, we had a very high increase in April due to the number of calls. The bulk of those calls was mainly about the application, asking about the requirements, and about another 50% was about license status. People calling in just asking about, it's been about 2 weeks, what's going on with my license? And then we would track it and let them know their progress and then see if there's anything missing, any RFI letters, and work with the customers to get them what they need. But other than that, that's all the rest of my report. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
No question? Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you very much. Okay, now we'll hear from enforcement division.
Good morning, advisory board members. My name is Karen Cox. I am a prosecutor in the enforcement section. And our report is in fiscal year 2018, which is from March 2017 through September 2017 through March 2018. We opened 12 cases in this program. We resolved 23 cases. The difference is because we resolved some cases from the earlier fiscal year. There were no agreed orders, penalties assessed, or penalties collected in this program. May I answer any questions?
No questions? Thank
Thank you.
I'll now hear from education examination division.
Good morning, Chair and Advisory Board members. My name is Rebecca Armas. I'm with TDLR's Education Examination Division. Not too much to report. We would like to welcome a superstar to our team, Ms. Carnicia Penson, sitting in the back there.
Welcome.
She provides a wealth of knowledge in the fields of development of curriculums, and I think she is going to just bring our A game way up higher, so we're very happy to have her with us. We did have a work group meeting a couple weeks ago, and Ms. Cooper will provide the update during the report. We also had an examination administered on the 19th with 25 candidates attending, and those statistics I have with me. We've got a 64% for the audiometric and an 86% for the ear impression. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
How many candidates did you say there were?
25.
Richard Valverde, you said 64%. Is that passing?
64% passed. Mhm. And as a side note, myself and Francis Mendieta, we will be at THAA. Any other questions?
Question?
Everybody
Thank
good?
you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll now hear from, that was education. We'll hear from regulatory program.
Good morning. I'm Katie Bryce, Program Specialist in the Medical and Health Professions section of the Regulatory Program Management Division. You have my report, and I'd like to highlight a few items on it. As part of TDLR's Web Content Initiative, I will be reviewing the hearing instrument, fitter, and dispenser web pages in the near future. Right now, some of our other programs already have been updated. If you want to go and look to see what the changes might be like, athletic trainers and speech have both been updated already, and so we're just moving through the different programs. The goal is to update the pages with links that make the pages easier to navigate. I led a standard of care work group meeting on May 16th, 2018. Gary Hahn will be giving the report on the work group meeting. We will schedule a follow-up meeting for the work group in the next few weeks. I'm looking forward to attending the Texas Hearing Aid Association Annual Convention, June 15th and 16th. And we just published the 3rd edition of our newsletter, The Health Monitor. If you didn't receive a copy through email, it's available off of our website. Do y'all have any questions for me? No? Okay,
Everybody?
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, executive office.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, advisory board members, Nick Voinis, TDLR. Thank you for being here today, and again, thank you for your service to the state. Here to give you our executive office report, kind of a summary of what's going on around the agency today. These are some busy times around the agency. Recently, we had Governor Abbott appointed 2 new commissioners to our board to terms that expire in 2023. So the board is back at full strength. The governor added Dr. Ray Callis, who's a physician anesthesiologist from Beaumont, and Dr. Gary Wesson, a retired orthodontist living in Bastrop, to our 7-member commission. And I'm happy to report that Dr. Wesson is here with us today, and would like to introduce him here.
Thank you for your service.
If you'd like some additional background information on our new commissioners, you can go to our website at tdlr.texas.gov. The commission met here last Thursday and meets next on July 20th. We are in the process of completing our strategic planning exercise. It's something that the legislature mandates all state agencies do every 2 years, and it's something that we take very seriously. Want to stress that all of our constituents had a voice in the process, from licensees, consumers, advisory board members, industry reps, and so on. All of them were encouraged to participate. We hosted external sessions in Arlington, El Paso, Houston, McAllen, and Austin. And these sessions were an opportunity for everyone to share ideas and opinions on how we're doing and how we can improve. And your industry was represented at these sessions. For those who were unable to make a session in person, they were able to go to our Facebook page and our website and contribute their opinions and ideas as well there. We also conducted internal sessions throughout the agency with our staffs and got their input as well. So we're in the process now of compiling the comments and ideas and drafting the final report, which is due out in early June. Also wanted to visit with you a little bit about our outreach, including your website, and update you on some traffic numbers associated with the program. And your numbers are good over the past 6 months. Your website had 14,867 page views, and that's an average of 82 per day. 69% of those folks accessed the site through a desktop computer, while 27% did so from a smartphone and another 4% from a tablet. The top reasons for visiting the site were online licensing, exam information, forms and applications, followed by administrative rules and the statute. I also want to remind you about our social media presence. We're on Facebook and Twitter, so please access those if you'd like to keep up with TDLR news and events. We also wanted to mention that you guys have a group of about 4,000 subscribers who receive various email blasts from the agency pertaining to your program. We also recently initiated a newsletter for our medical and health profession programs. It's called the TDLR Health Monitor. It's the most recent issue was distributed electronically late last week to some 25,000 subscribers. And I want to give kudos out to Stephen Mills and his staff, Mary Hoffman and others, and my guys, Jeff Kopus and his folks, for editing it. And it's really a very well received and very well written and researched little newsletter. And if you're not receiving it and would like to, in addition to the other email blasts, please go to the website and subscribe there, and we'll be happy to send them to you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, and be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Nick, I have one question. I know you're still compiling it, but in the strategic plan, is there anything that will affect our program that you can see?
Yeah. Currently, Mary Winston, TDLR, we are still compiling. There was nothing earth-shattering that you should be concerned about. At the moment, I don't remember anything off the top of my head, which that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because there were some things that were brought up in the public external sessions that maybe different factions of a certain licensee group may have different feelings on. For this group, I don't remember anything like that. If there is something, then we will reach out and let you know, because in the compiling, let's see, my group did internal comments. We reviewed internal comments, and I had over 3,000 internal comments. So, and we took the first stab. So we have many more thousand for external comments. So literally something may not have come across yet, but I don't remember anything that should be of great concern or give you pause, and we'll reach out if there is something.
Thank you, Mary.
Here, I'm looking around the room too, and I'm seeing from the looks I'm getting from some folks that
We're
I
getting
don't think we really had
nods, yeah.
much there for you. Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Okay, we move to item F, discussion and possible recommendations regarding proposed amendments to existing rules. Did I get one? That was him. Oh, maybe not. Okay. Was that general counsel we need to, I'm sorry.
Right.
Who did that?
Wendy Pello, Assistant General Counsel. This is item E7. We just had a very brief update. We wanted to let you know that we received a rulemaking petition regarding 16 Texas Administrative Code, Section 11295, information on prospective amplification candidates. We received it on April 23rd. We have 60 days to respond. We're still working on that, so we will be able to provide more details and our response at your next meeting, but we just wanted to give you an update that we had received a rulemaking petition.
Thank you. Now we'll move to F. Discussion and possible recommendations regarding proposed amendments of existing rules at 16 Texas Occupation Code, Chapter 12, Subchapter F, 11250, 11252, and 11253. Wendy?
Good morning, Wendy Pello, Assistant General Counsel. These rules are results of the licensing work group, and the licensing work group has a report under G1. So with the chairman's permission, if it'd be all right to jump to agenda item G1 and let the licensing work group give their report before we get into the substance of the rules.
That'd be Richard.
Yes, Richard Davila. On April the 2nd, 2018, the licensing work group met. Katie, Leonard, Wendy, Gary, Jesse, and myself to discuss temporary trading permit eligibility requirements and an application. And we put together some language to present to the advisory board today, and hopefully everybody's had a chance to take a look at it. And I'd like to move to accept the new language for application and eligibility requirements for temporary trading permits.
Chairman, if you'd like, we can move to
Yeah,
the substance.
actually, yeah, if we take just a minute,
Right.
because I didn't get it in my packet. Was it sent out in the packet for us to review?
You didn't get any rules?
No, I got the agenda is all I got. So if you give me a minute, let me
Absolutely.
look over it.
Does everyone else have copies of that? We can get you hard copies. Do you have it in your materials? Is it under agenda item G?
No, that's okay, I can read this. I just don't read real fast, so you know,
That's
give me a
right.
few minutes.
If you can get them.
And Mr. Chairman, Mary Winston, you can take a break if you want to, and take as much time as you need, or we'll just sit here and read with you.
Okay. Well, if we want to take a break, well,
Gavel us out for 5 minutes, 10
we're on
minutes?
break.
Okay,
5-minute break, how's that?
he has spoken.
Thanks.
proposed rule change for temporary training permit application and eligibility requirements.
Do I hear a second?
Second motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh.
did you want to discuss the rules in terms of agenda item G? You have the work group's recommendations, and that would be
Oh.
the work group's recommendations. We can go through the rules, explain it, and then we can follow up on the work group's
Okay.
motion. That's
Well,
right.
We'll open it for discussion. I think that's why we read it, but
Okay.
do we have any
Well, just,
discussion on that?
well, just for the record, we need
Oh.
to discuss it on agenda item G. For those
Okay.
watching at home and on YouTube, we need
I
to
see.
discuss the item.
Okay.
Again, Wendy Pello, Assistant General Counsel, this is agenda item G. As the chairman laid out, these were making rules, changes to, amendments to sections 112.50, .52, and .53 of the Hearing Instrument Fitters Program rules. And in particular, these are the temporary training permit rules. You may recall these were part of our last rulemaking package, but they were ended up being withdrawn. The rest of the rule package went ahead, and most of that rule package was to address changes made by House Bill 4007 and some other cleanup changes. We've withdrew the temporary training permit rules, and now this is what the proposal is in front of you, is to make the changes to implement House Bill 4007 and to make the cleanup changes. Just quick, so you identify in your package, Section 112.50, as you see under C1, we are withdrawing that section that the applicant may have never taken examination before. That's due to House Bill 4007 that removed that requirement. You turn to page 2 of your draft. We've added a new subsection E, and this was the new requirements to put in what the requirements were to get a secondary or a second temporary training permit after the first one expires. The statute originally had a sit-out period of 365 days before somebody could get a new permit. House Bill 4007 removed that provision and replaced it with a provision that allowed the commission by rule to set up the requirements for someone to get a second temporary training permit requirement. And so that's what the rules under subsection E set out. They set out that there'll be a new permit. The person who's issued a new permit is starting over. It's not an extension, it's a new permit, so they're starting over with the temporary training permit requirements. And so you're back to the 150 hours and 10 hours of the direct supervision, and you're moving through that process. The person who's issued a second permit, they may extend it once, as allowed under statute rules. And then under E4, there's a statement that the person may not receive more than two temporary training permits. And this was to try and address those concerns of balancing those concerns of somebody being a perpetual temporary training permit holder, that they could always continue to get a new permit without ever having taken the exam, finishing their training. So that addresses that, but also keeps in line with the statutory requirements that it is temporary and it is for training purposes, and that it shouldn't be a perpetual permit. So we've tried to address that here. We've also tried to, by doing it this way, we've tried to address the concerns that people may not be getting enough time to train, didn't have adequate training, or may not passing the exam, so they needed further training. So this gives them the opportunity to get a second permit, take the exam, get additional training, and try again, but it doesn't leave them in a perpetual permit holder status. So that's the biggest changes to 112.50. We had received a comment during comment period from the Texas Hearing Aid Association. They had recommended making changes down to 112.52. Our work group had discussed that issue in terms of the appropriate placement. We ended up in putting it .50, but I think that subsection E4 under section 112.50 reflects their changes. Under 112.52, we did, under subsection E, that's a cleanup change in terms of the background check. And the new subsection E is that, again, talking about the extension. A person who has a second temporary training permit may extend it, and it's the same requirements as you would have extended under a first permit. And then under section 112.53, subsection I, that's a change to comply with House Bill 4007. It had removed language from the statute that said that the supervisor and permit holder had to submit a notarized form and mail it in. this allows a more streamlined way of doing that in terms of verifying that compliance with the department. And that may be electronic, so that's the cleanup change for 4007. So now, if there's any discussion or changes or questions?
Jackie
Yep.
Cooper. I have a question. If I'm reading this correctly, this means that a temporary trainee may possibly be in that position of being a temporary trainee for a total of 4 years?
That is correct.
One issue, one extension, and then a reissue and another extension, and
That is
that's
correct.
the sum total of the
Right.
time that they...
Right, and,
Okay.
and we've written it as well, is it doesn't have to be back-to-back, that they could have gotten their first permit extended for reasons being sitting out and then coming back so they could get their second permit. So it's written such that it doesn't have to be back-to-back on that.
So it makes room for extenuating circumstances,
Right.
life,
Right.
but also puts a limit.
Right, and that's what we were trying to find that balance, and that was what the licensing group, work group was trying to debate those issues of why would a person need a second permit, what were the reasons, but balancing that against the concerns that this person may never have to take the exam or finish their training and just to get to be a permit holder forever, and then not reflecting the nature of the statute, which is the temporary training permit, that it's temporary and that it's for training purposes.
So it allows for that break in between if needed.
If needed.
Doesn't have to be 4 concurrent years.
Right, right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
All right, well, the
Go back-
department would be
go back to
wanting
Mr. Doblin.
recommendation, and we turn it back to.
Have you do it again.
Yeah, I'd like to move to accept the proposed rulemaking in 11250, 11252, and 11253.
So here's a second.
And I second that motion.
Were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, we'll have item G, updates of work groups and possible recommendations. We heard from license group already. Now we'll move to standard of care work group. Gary Hahn.
We met, and Steve and Wendy, Katie were part of the TDLR team, and then Ben, Amy, and I in the work group. We discussed the hearing test environment, and whether we need to look at yes. Oh, I thought I heard someone say something. We discussed whether ANSI standards needed to be involved. We discussed the language within 402. Katie and Wendy requested the THAA position letter, and they wanted to review that. So we're going to have another meeting in a couple months, and in the next couple weeks. And that's about it.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. We'll move to education examination work group. Jackie?
We met the work group with Rebecca Armas and had a very long, fruitful discussion about lots of options and choices, and ended up making a very simple recommendation to some language of changing the requirement for how long a proctor has to hold a license from 3 years to 2 years, and changing the requirement for the number of examinations that the proctor or potential proctor would need to observe from 5 to 3. We feel this is going to achieve the balance that we need of being able to get proctors and making it less difficult for them to be able to become a proctor, and also still balancing their ability to do the proctoring efficiently. So the only substantive changes we made were for the license requirements from 3 years to 2 years to be a proctor, and the observations from 5 observations to 3.
Any questions? All right, thank you very much. Okay, we'll move to item H, recommendations for agenda items for next board meeting. Okay. We'll go to item I, discussion, date, time, and location of the next board meeting.
Mr. Chairman, Nick Boenis, we are looking at possibly an August date, but Christine will get back to you guys at a later date and
Okay,
pick a
just
time
email
that's
us.
convenient to you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, meeting adjourned.